Hello, everybody. Welcome to Real Estate Talk TGIF episode 75. I am Dave Finale. I want to thank you so much for coming on. And as I said, this is Real Estate Talk TGIF. We all know what the TGIF stands for, right? That's correct. Thank God it's finale. That's right. That's me, not just Friday, but thank God it's finale. And here we are, and we have such a great and special guest who I get to see from time to time with the organization that I work with. And this is Kelly Maniateas, correct?
Correct.
Am I good? Okay, good. Thank God. I've been practicing that all week, making sure I can pronounce it correctly, because I always hate it when people mispronounce my name. Kelly has her own company called Integrative Coaching Solutions, but has had quite a circuitous route having to do with real estate and helping people in leadership and anything. Kelly, welcome so much to our broadcast today, and tell us your story.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. It's an honor. It's interesting. I get asked that question a lot, and I seem to tell the story always a different way. For me, I've been in business probably about 22 years now, the last 18 in real estate. My story, I've done every single position in real estate you can imagine, and, found a calling on the business side of things and the coaching side of things, and really have been spending the last probably 8 years just diving into so many different ways that I can help business owners, especially in real estate, because there's so many opportunities there.
Right. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
So you've been, so you say you've been in real estate so many different places as I have. Tell us about where you started and why you actually got into real estate.
Well, I kind of fell into real estate through a relationship. I never in my younger years thought that that's where I would end up. And yet, through a good friend of mine, he introduced me into real estate. And believe it or not, I started on the front desk, which,
Really?
yeah, I am so grateful for, because it allowed me, as I grew inside of the organizations, to understand how each position impacts the next. And I think that's the biggest piece when it comes to leadership and growing people and developing. And very quickly realized that the front desk was not the best space for me, and ended up moving up into operations and running multiple multi-million-dollar companies through development, residential, property management, mortgage, and insurance, which gave me a well-rounded perspective on real estate and what could be accomplished inside of it.
Well, that's pretty interesting way to get started and stuff. Incidentally, I was not texting anybody. I was sharing this to other groups and pages, just so you know. I was not being rude. So we've talked about different things, and we've talked about basically the what you're doing now, and you're in operations, you're in emotional intelligence. Tell us about the importance of what you do as far as operations for real estate groups and companies, and how you lead around that.
Well, I think for us, what makes us unique is we don't train or coach inside of the hard skills side of operations. I mean, hard skills can be taught. That's the easy part. The more difficult part in running an organization is finding great operational talent that has the soft skills. And that's where leadership comes into play, and emotional intelligence and NLP come into play, because it's one thing to maintain a business. It's another to grow it. And the growth happens on the soft side of it. And that's really where we focus. Okay.
So tell us where other people can, tell us about the growth section and how you can grow within the actual things that you do to get people to grow more into their business and into a group.
Yeah, absolutely. So we tackle this a couple different ways, because we don't just focus in on the operation side. We focus in on leadership in general. So our clients we're working with, we start at the head of the organization, because everything rolls downhill from there.
Right.
And we get a foundation of where they are. And we usually do this through a couple different assessments, one of them being emotional intelligence. We want to see where their leadership skills are at the moment, and then we create a plan to increase those skills. So we focus in their ability to communicate, to motivate, their ability to connect with their clients, their teammates, how to cause growth within, as well as how do you take those skills and then apply them to the hard skills that you're already doing, like a P&L. I mean, a lot of people can bring money together and put it on an income statement. And yet, do you know how to impact the ROI inside of that income statement? And that's leadership and NLP in some ways.
So, okay, so that's leadership, that's NLP to impact the ROI there. So you just mentioned NLP. Let's go into that. Okay. Talk to me about NLP. Talk to me about what it is. Talk to me and how it can be used in not only leadership, but also in sales.
Absolutely. So for those that don't know, NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. And all of us operate inside of these programs that we've created when we were kids, usually in the first 7 years of our lives, and they run unconsciously. So as adults, we tend to run these programs and not realize on a conscious level that they're not supporting us in the way that we choose to in an adult life. So in NLP, we use those tactics to help uncover those programs and reprogram them for the current goals, not for the past that we've experienced. And from a business perspective, there's a lot of things inside of NLP that help us achieve our goals. One, even knowing how to properly set a goal, knowing that your unconscious mind will step off the gas once you hit 90%. Right. Understanding how to communicate, how to build rapport, especially in sales, how to convert at a higher level, how to understand somebody else's model of the world and the strategies they use inside of it, and be able to operate inside of what they need to help them make a decision quicker. So in sales, that's a huge piece, because that's really what we're asking them to do, is make decisions based on the products or services we're looking to sell. So there's a lot of different aspects inside of that we focus in on. And then from a leadership perspective, it's the same thing. How do you motivate someone if you don't understand how they operate and what they need from you and where they truly want to go, not where their unconscious mind thinks they need to be? So both sides of the spectrum, which impact any organization, NLP is applicable there.
So let's just take the sales part of it, right? So when we're talking sales about it, how can a real estate agent prospecting use NLP to their advantage?
Well, some of the aspects a lot of sales agents already know when it comes to language. We talk about embedded commands, downswings, upswings, tie downs, double binds, all of those things that honestly are really hypnosis, that are taking and pacing and leading the person you're speaking to a point of decision and trusting you. And understanding what's most important. So those things most sales agents know. The other aspect is, the building of rapport. Do you understand mirroring and matching, pacing and leading, keyword backtracking? Do you understand internal representations? Does someone operate from a visual aspect, an auditory aspect, or a kinesthetic, or an auditory digital? Can you pick those up in your initial conversation and be able to adjust? Part of NLP is the law of requisite variety. And that really means the person that is most flexible in their behavior has the most influence. And in sales, that is the key aspect, being able to influence somebody. So understanding all of those skill sets and being proficient at them allows you to increase your influence level in the first conversation, not in the 6th, 7th, or 12th conversation, which is where most agents attempt to get to.
Yeah, exactly. And some of them can't even get to the second one, or if they don't get hung up on. So in the last 60 to 120 seconds, Kelly, you just threw out so many words, so many things, so much stuff that is like, I'm going to tell you that you say that most agents know it. I'm going to tell you that most agents don't. And if anybody watching this that's a real estate agent that wants to get pissed at me, that's fine. Please go ahead, because that's what I'm good at. I'm good at getting you pissed at me, because if you know what you're doing, you're going to turn me off, or you're going to listen to what I have to say, and you're going to argue with me, which I love. So let's talk about one thing that I've actually been doing some work on and a lot of reading on, and trying to really completely and totally understand it, and that's embedded commands. Okay. So I've been reading about that. I've been doing some research on it and trying to completely and totally understand it. So could you talk a little bit to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we think of terms of embedded command, it really represents the one thing that you want that person to hear inside of what you're saying. Your brain can only focus really in on 7 things at any given time. So in order to really have someone hear you, you've got to speak to their unconscious mind for them to retain it. And an embedded command is created in such a way that it triggers the unconscious mind to hear it. So we talk about analogical markers. That's usually the pause before and after the command. Because when you think about it in school and you listen to your teacher speaking, or the principal speaking in an assembly, you always knew there was something important that was going to come out when they paused right before they said it. And because we grow up that way and we're programmed that way, our unconscious mind is trained to know that whatever is after a pause is important. So having the pause before and after an embedded command is really where the power lies. And then you've got to understand, what is the one thing that you want them to get? So for instance, I'm the best agent that's going to be able to sell your home. There's the slight pause behind, and then there's the downswing on the embedded command. Because our brains are trained to understand that when you downswing in an embedded command, that adds to the importance level of it. And it's more of a command to do something. So when you put those two things together in the appropriate script, then you allow the person that you're speaking to truly get what you want to get across. Agents are great at talking, but they talk so much, they tend to talk themselves out of what they're actually attempting to do.
You don't say.
Yes. So when you study NLP and you understand the power of language, it actually allows you to be succinct in what you say. It allows you to control the conversation. And it also allows you to connect with the unconscious mind, which, let's be honest, that's the one thing that runs our lives anyways. There's no point talking from a conscious level.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I work on in my programs that I work with new agents, part-time agents, and experienced agents is that word control that you just used, right? And the thing about control that is so very important is that if we are able to exercise it and to do it, exercise it and do it and command it, we're going to have a much better, easier time in getting paid. And what I mean by that is, with all starting from the conversion factor of a lead generator to the conversion to a connection, to an appointment, to an offer, et cetera, et cetera. And the control has a lot to do with how we say everything else. And I'm always telling people, it's not what you do, it's how you do what you do. And the important part of that is not only how you carry yourself, because honestly, a lot of people would look at that comment by me that way. It's also how you say what you do, and not say what you do, but say what you say in how you do what you do. Man, I'm really doing a lot of crazy here. But anyway, I think you get my point. I mean, and that's really important when you talk about downswings and upswings. So when is it advantageous to use an upswing in your conversation, or is it not?
Oh, there's definitely advantages to an upswing, especially if we're intending to create doubt. I mean, when we have a client that's, say, interviewing multiple agents, we'll intentionally create doubt on the fact of, do they actually need to interview a lot of people? What will they miss out by taking the time to interview a lot of people? So in many conversations, especially if we're looking to lead them to a certain conclusion, the easiest way for us to do that is to create doubt on the other things that they're looking to spend time with. So for instance, if I'm the first agent in that appointment, I'm going to create doubt on the fact of, what will they miss out on if they spend the next 3 days interviewing 10 different agents? There's no point in that. And then I'll actually look into, if I'm doing the work, which I should be doing, who is my competition?
Right.
What do I know about them? And weave that into that conversation so that I can show by working with me, they will get their house sold in the least amount of time with the least amount of hassle for the most amount of money. And I'll create doubt around everyone else about them not being able to do the same.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah. So we'll go into a little. Yeah. So absolutely. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, as you already know, based on our conversation, I'm the best agent for you to sell your home. Doesn't it make sense that you make your decision today? Because if you don't, is it possible by you waiting to put your home on the market that you might end up with an agent that doesn't provide you the same service?
Yeah, well, I have a couple of appointments today. Why wouldn't I just wait to see them before I hire anybody?
Well, you could do that. And yet what we already know, and based on what I've already shown you, the most important thing that you've told me to you is to be able to sell your house in the shortest amount of time. And because of that, every single minute of every single day impacts your ability to do that. And we'll just go from there.
Right. Thank you for that. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there.
No, you're good.
No.
You're good.
So,
and here's the thing, though. I can't do that if I haven't spent the time to understand what's truly important to them. And I think today a lot of our agents go in with fancy listing presentations and things that they do day in and day out.
right.
But if we don't spend time in the needs analysis, which is also where NLP shows up, then no matter what we say, it won't matter if we're not talking about what's most important.
You're talking about the needs analysis of the client?
Yes, absolutely.
And if you don't know them, how are you doing that?
If I don't know the needs of the client, then
you don't know the client.
I won't go into an appointment without knowing the needs of the client.
So you're doing that preliminary on the phone or through a Zoom call or whatever, that kind of thing, right?
Absolutely. I hold my time very, very valuable, and I will only go to appointments with motivated sellers that I understand what the need that they want matches the service that I provide.
Okay, so let's get into another technique, if that's okay with you. And it's one thing that when I tried to explain it, I'll never forget explaining this to my brothers years and years ago, and all they did was laugh at me, and they didn't understand what I was saying. And then 2 weeks later, they said what I had assumed and what I thought was correct. It's called mirroring.
Yes.
Right? And sometimes when I'm doing it or I do it, I feel kind of like they're going to see me what I'm doing. Right? Can you talk about that for us and explain exactly what it is and how we would use it?
Yeah. So mirroring and matching are two things that we use in rapport building. So first off, let me explain matching. Matching is doing the exact same thing as another person, and matching can show up in a lot of different ways. It can be in body posture, tonality, rate of speech, the way that they're sitting, even their beliefs and values, and matching those. And not in the sense of you being inauthentic, but in the sense of understanding their model of the world and connecting with that, their point of view. Mirroring is almost doing the opposite. So if somebody is standing with let me put it this way. So my right hand is up, then a mirror to that would mean which hand is up for you?
My left hand.
Your left hand. That's right. So we're mirroring each other as if we're standing in front of a mirror and you're seeing the opposite reflection. And yet there's still similarity there. You're still in the same presence, in the same body posture, but you're not both holding up your right hand. And the reason we do that is because it triggers the unconscious mind to think that you are familiar. You're acting the same way as me. You're speaking the same language as me. You're doing all the things that I recognize as myself and as comfortable. And if we do that as agents, that automatically opens the door up for trust. Trust in the fact that I feel like I know you, so I'm going to listen to you at a different level. I'm going to give what you say more weight because you seem like me. And that only happens at the unconscious level. So all of those little things, the mirroring and matching that we do, are what triggers that door to open. Does that help?
It does a lot. So I'm going to take it into a little bit a different angle here. And that
Yep.
angle has to do with working with leads. Is it
Mhm.
possible to mirror and match a lead to get noticed in your response? Is that a possibility? I'm just throwing that out there. That's just off the top of my head. I apologize if it sounds stupid, but
No, absolutely, it's possible. I mean, any conversation that you have, if you're trained in understanding what to look for, you can immediately mirror and match somebody. I had somebody the other day that, I called and I don't know, I caught them at a really bad time. Their energy level, they were pissed.
oh wow.
And they, I was just the recipient of that. So instead of, being defensive and attempting to calm them down, I met them where they were. So they were talking at a very energetic level and very loud. And so I just talked at an energetic level and very loud. I mirrored what they were doing, and it caught them off guard because I responded the same way. And what happened is, because I met them where they were, they saw me as familiar and then immediately started calming down. And we ended up having a great conversation, and they're going to be a client. But that was our first conversation. If I had done anything different, it would have shut the conversation down right there. And you can do that with any lead. As long as you're trained to know what to look for and you're flexible in your behavior, you can immediately adjust in any conversation.
Is it possible to do that in script or text?
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to text, it's a little bit different. You're limited in that because you're dealing with words. So you're immediately removing tonality and body language, which makes up 93% of what communication is. So doing it in text, it's obviously a little more difficult. You're really limited to just keyword backtracking, which is just using their language back to them. But when it comes to any other type of conversation, yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it. And a script is just meant to help frame the conversation. It's helped to keep you in line with the techniques that you already know, some of which we talked about in NLP. But it also doesn't mean that you're limited to that. And the script doesn't tell you the energy you put behind it. It doesn't tell you the tonality you put behind it. It doesn't tell you whether you speak slowly or quickly. All of those things you can do inside the script based on who you're talking to and how they are speaking.
So I want everybody to hear the main words that were just said. We talk about scripts and dialogues. We talk about practice. We talk about role play, two completely different things.
Yes.
We talk about scripts. But everyone,
Yes.
what you just said was scripts only help frame the conversation.
Yes.
It's just, it's almost like, all right, I got nothing else to say. I don't know what the hell to say. Hey, just let me say something like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just oddly enough, I give you an example of where I'm coming from. So I run 2 to 3 times a week, and I pass this house that's being renovated, and next door they're starting to build a new house, and it says for sale by builder, completely renovated home, and it's been like that for like 6 to 8 months. So I'm just going to call the guy next week and say, hey man, I see you've been doing this. When are you going to hire somebody to help you get this thing sold? So that would be going along with what he's been asking for 8 months. He's actually asking me to call him,
Yes.
And that's the way I look at it. So this is some really great stuff. And if anybody's watching this either live or later, this is some really great stuff. And this is all 100% total value. So I want to shift it just a little bit. And I want to go into basically, we're talking about connection. We're talking about the human connection. And when we had our conversation the other day, we talked about everything that we do is about people. Our business is all about people, right? And as time goes on, we've got the approach, the communication style. It's all changing in the real estate business, or it has changed already, right?
Yes.
And we talked about maybe there's something missing in our human connection today. Let's talk about that. Talk to me about the connection with how we're connecting and what we're doing and why.
Yeah, this is a huge part of where my passion lies. because we live in an era right now where technology is doing a lot of things for us, and it's changing every day, and it's getting smarter. We've got artificial intelligence now. I mean, especially in the real estate space, anytime a lead comes in, it's usually AI speaking to them before we do.
Right.
And because of that, technology is going to continue to take over a lot of the systematic things in our business. And our value then is only going to truly lie on the human connection, which is the one thing AI can't do. And because of that, our ability to communicate, to lead, to understand emotional intelligence, to connect at that human level is really the only space that we can operate inside of. And what's interesting is the people that are hitting the labor force right now, the millennials and zennials, and I lose track, Gen X.
I have no idea either, so keep going.
Yeah. Because they've grown up in technology, their ability to communicate at that level has actually been diminished. I mean, most of what we do right now is behind text, Facebook Messenger, email. It's very rare that we get on the phone unless we're required to. So we've lost that ability to understand the true sense behind tonality, behind body language, behind rapport in the way that we speak. And because of that, we're starting to see a shortage of talent, not just in real estate, but in all industries. And that's when I noticed that a few years ago, that's where my passion switched to creating a business around that to help fill the gap. Because I know in a few years, maybe even shorter than that, technology is going to get to a point where all we have left is just the connection.
Is this where people might give into the thought process that technology can replace the real estate agent? Is this where it comes from?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talk with that. And I would say, for those that are not committed to creating the connection with people, I would say, yeah, they're going to get replaced. If they're just transactional based, they rely on systems, and that's it, and they have no interest in the human side of that transaction, then yeah, I'm going to say that they're probably going to get replaced. But for the ones that believe in servicing their people, not just inside their organization, but outside, that have goals bigger than just the organization, where real estate is just the vehicle in achieving something larger for them. Those are the ones that are going to truly understand how technology can enhance their ability to create connections and allow them to do it more often. Those are the ones that are going to really flourish.
I 100% agree with you. I got so much stuff going through my head. One of the things that I realized the other morning, I said I run a couple times a week, and I have an app that I run with. And there's a lot of people out there, any age, that say, well, AI doesn't affect me. AI doesn't affect me. And I was thinking, oddly enough, I was thinking this when I was running the other day. I use a product called Map My Run when I run. And this thing is telling me that I'm either slow, I need to slow down, or I need to speed up. That's AI.
Yep.
Right. And people say, oh, no, I don't believe in it. Well, you're using it, right? Everybody's using it and they don't know it. Like, how many steps did I go today? I think that's kind of odd, but that's just me. But that's AI, right?
It is. Yeah.
So people got to understand that our lives are starting to be, we're letting technology control us. One other point I want to make is I believe that the people we're talking about are really good at using this thing and not good at using much else. That's not a knock or a negative criticism. It's just truth. So let me ask you a question. If I'm working with 3 other real estate agents, I'm the 4th, and I'm willing to make a phone call to a lead or make a phone call to a prospective client, and they are not, would I stand a better chance of doing more business than them?
Yes, absolutely. Because people do business with who they trust, who they feel familiar with, and who they believe has their best interest at heart. AI will not be able to create that for you. That is built through rapport and human connection. And that can only happen at a human to human level.
So let's look at it this way, though. But say I'm that person that's willing to take the chance and pick up the phone and call that prospective client. But that client is also one that wants to use this thing and doesn't really want to have that conversation. How does that make sense? Or do you think that people are more apt to talk to people that want to talk to them, literally talk?
There are people right now that, and I'm included in one of them. I mean, people know in my world, if they really want a response from me, they're going to text me. The second form is email, and usually the third form is phone call. So I'm one of those people. And yet there are people that I'm loyal to that I understand that it's going to require either face-to-face conversation or over the phone conversation, because they're valued at a level that I'm willing to spend time there. And as a real estate agent, you may be able to create transactions in your business, but it will not be a scalable business, because a scalable business comes out of loyalty. It comes out of your database and referrals, and only that is created through human-to-human connection. And when we talk about real estate, we also talk about touches in respects to spending time with our clients, having client parties, giving them value, all of those things. You will never be able to encompass what's truly valuable to them through a text message.
No, and there's no such thing as a sarcasm font on text either. So
Yes.
that can cause lots of problems.
Yes.
So what about the advantage of exactly what we're doing now? I mean, yeah, we're using a product called Be Live TV, but there's also Zoom video and FaceTime and Skype and all that fun stuff. Doesn't that have a lot of extra value as well?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. There are a lot of people that I spend time with that live nowhere near me. And my product of choice is Zoom. Even my team is virtual. And yet, what's great about that is we're seeing each other face to face. I can see your body language. I can see how you're reacting to what I'm saying. As a person who's in active listening mode, I can understand, if things are landing the way that I intend. I can look at when I need to shift in what we're talking about. I can see all those things because we're on camera. Now, let me ask you, how many real estate agents do you know that prospect that way?
Not many, and if I tell you what, there'd be a lot more if they listened to me. But that's the difficult part. I mean, I've been doing video forever,
Yeah.
and I mean, I've actually the interesting part about video. I'll just give me a little shameless plug. I've been teaching video text for about 8 years now, 9 years, and it's just, I mean, it's to me that's one way to disrupt the client and to get through to them a little bit better. And I'm promoting Zoom like crazy, because I believe that in the helter skelter of our lives, it's one way to communicate and connect with everybody you need to connect with without any inconvenience. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I might be taking it a little far, but I believe there's no inconvenience. I mean, you just said your entire team is virtual. Do any members of your team, would they be capable of driving to an office where you work?
No.
Right. Exactly. That's my point. Right. I mean, you and I can have a meeting anytime, and I'm not driving or flying to Mississauga.
Yep.
Right. I mean, it's just amazing how we're able to do this. I mean, last week we had Haas Pratt on, and he's in Texas. Next week I had David Greenspan on, and he's not near me either. So I'm not exactly sure where he is. That's why I said that. But I mean, it's just a matter of I believe what you said. The pace and tone is also looked at. I mean, we can see each other's body language, and you're a much better at all of this than I am, and I really want to get better at it. But I also believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I also believe that there's quote unquote body language to social media. There's quote unquote pace and tone to what you're going to write and what you put in it. Do you agree with that? Yes. And how do you see that?
I agree. There's the intent there from the person who's writing the content. The only part about it, though, is we lose control, because even though we intend things to be read a certain way, with a certain tonality behind it and a certain pace behind it. It will forever be interpreted based on the receiving end's perspective of it. So when we look at connecting with people, and we talked about this a little earlier about having control in that conversation,
Right.
it's a great way to do it, and it's a great way to get content across. And even if I were to record a video and put it on my Facebook page, again, I do it with an intent. But at the end of the day, it's the person who's listening to it that's going to attach what they want to it.
Exactly. And if we talk about putting a video on Facebook, or we talk about going live on Facebook, your purpose is going to be shown in your pace and tone of what you're saying, how you're saying it. And
Yes.
for the most part, what you know, if you're standing or sitting or whatever, and people used to laugh at me sometimes when I'd say, when you're going to prospect, do it standing up because people can see you smile.
Yes.
I believe that the energy flowing when you're standing up rather than sitting down. So
absolutely.
We talked about, you mentioned this earlier, you talked about people you know, we talked about emotional connection. And I believe I think the biggest thing that we have to do as human beings is connect to the people we know. And that's emotionally connecting to our database, the people we know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So would you agree that that can be or should be our number one pillar of business in our real estate career?
Absolutely, 100%.
Why do you
your
think
business is your database, and your database is your business?
Why do you think people say they do when they really don't?
What, work their database?
Yeah.
Because I think most people aren't confident in the value they provide. And what I mean by that is, we have a lot of systems behind us in respects to email blasts and newsletters that are going out and quarterly calls. But I don't think a lot of agents really know their database. They're not mining it for the right information to understand what's valuable to the audience.
Right, right.
And because of that, we operate in what every other agent does.
Right.
And because we know that that's, what every other agent does, there's not that confidence level in the fact that they really should call their database, because they don't know what to provide because they've never asked the right questions.
Absolutely. We got a few more things. I just want to thank Sekou for coming on. Sekou's telling me that you set tons of appointments daily. Sekou, if you're coming on, please join us if you can. But it's just, there's so much value here, and there's just so much. So one of the things that you do is you talk about and work with emotional intelligence. And I know we've been talking about all that through our entire conversation. So hone in on that one aspect of what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So emotional intelligence is a gap I noticed in my clients about 3 years ago. And it wasn't something that was really talked about then in business, but it's definitely a hot topic today. Emotional intelligence impacts everything we do. And essentially what it means is your ability to manage your emotions and the emotions of others. And people get that concept, and yet they don't understand everything that underlies that. Our emotions dictate everything we do, how we make decisions, how we connect with people, how we manage stress, our impulse control, our ability to see things in an optimistic way, to be flexible in what we do, and also how we see ourselves. We just talked about it. Agents don't contact their database because they're not confident in the value they provide. Well, part of that is emotional intelligence, because usually what we see outwardly is a result of something inwardly. So for us in our organization, we focus a lot there because we understand that in order to see the results outside, we've got to understand the results of what's inside. And we look at that and we take them through an assessment process to understand the foundation and all of the 15 different subscales of emotional intelligence. And then we create a plan on how we can increase those skills in the areas that they choose to, that's going to help them achieve the goals that they say they want in the business environment.
So are we getting into, when we talk about emotional intelligence and this whole thought process of this and the ways they can to improve, are we bordering on a psychological review of people, or just how they look at business?
No, it's all around. It doesn't have to just do with business. It deals with life. How you see yourself, how you think others see you, how you show up when you're passionate about something, your assertiveness level, how you express your emotions. I mean, I think today we live in a society that, when we see somebody who's emotional, we're almost judging them because of it,
Yes.
especially in business. And, we've developed these strategies where we shove these emotions down in our pockets, thinking, oh, we'll just deal with it later, or it's not worth it. And then we end up having impulse control issues. And, all of a sudden we get pissed off and have a reaction that wasn't warranted. And there's usually somebody on the other side of that.
Oh yeah. Emotional control. I mean, that's just like, I see that so often, on the
Mhm.
I mean, honestly, I believe that we see that a lot in people that have trouble with focus, right? And the ones that don't, I think the issue is not focus, but an understanding of their own discipline to actually achieve a task, so on
Mhm.
and so forth, right?
Mhm.
Sekou cannot jump on due to tech issues, but he wanted me to ask you, what is the toughest part about coaching agents to achieve their goals?
I'd say probably the toughest part for us, at least right now, it seems to be a theme, is having them understand the value they truly have. The business aspect in coaching is easy. There's a lot of skills we can focus in on and help them learn. But at the end of the day, everything starts with mindset and understanding their value inside of this world and also being connected to their purpose on this world. I think we've grown up in an age where, business has been the focus and everything else is a second thought. And for us, it's the total opposite. It's starting with purpose and figuring out how your business is the vehicle to achieve that. And that seems to be a conversation most people are not used to right now. So our biggest focus and challenge is getting them to switch that around and opening themselves up to what's truly possible.
So do you think it's a confidence issue, a commitment issue? What do you think it is? Well, look, we talk about the 80-20. I mean, one of the reasons that I do what I do now is I want to work with people that want to work. Um,
Mhm.
and I'm going to say that there's 80 to 90% that if I had to categorize would be in that I don't want to work place. What do you think
Mhm.
the reason is for that? Is it just discipline? Is it focus? What is it?
I think it's a lot of different things. Because we grew up in an age where a lot of things are done for us. I mean, I'm old enough to remember that when I got a pager, that was like the most technical thing we've ever gotten, and it was exciting, right? And now every single one of us have at least one cell phone in our pocket, some of us two, depending on what we're doing. So, we're used to having things done for us. And that's going to continue to increase as technology increases. And yet, when you truly have a passion or a purpose, you show up because that's what you're committed to, and you're willing to do any action that you have to do in order to achieve that. And I think we've lost that along the way. A lot of us, and I was one of them. I mean, I went to school to design golf courses,
A little bit
which,
different than what you're doing now, huh?
yeah, exactly. Right. And, I did that because it just seemed like the most logical thing to do at that point in my life. And I didn't have a passion for it though. It was something to do. I knew I had to get a job. I knew I had to make money. So let's figure out a way that I could do that. And I think a lot of us tend to do that. And yet when I found my passion, which fell into, real estate and then coaching, everything shifted. My discipline shifted. My focus shifted. What I was willing to do shifted. And there's a lot of people in this world right now that are, shuffling through life, following the routine, and not understanding the why behind it. I think once you truly get that, everything else kind of falls into place. Um, and you're going to have that defining moment. I think all of us do
Right, right.
at some point. right? Where you decide to make a change or not. But the first step to change is awareness. And that's why we are where we are. We're the ones that help create awareness. Because if you're not aware that a change is needed, we'll just keep doing what we do.
Would you say that awareness is the number one key to grabbing what that why is?
Yeah. Yeah. Because remember, 95% of what we do is habitual. We're running the same program day in and day out. You don't think about how you put your clothes on, or you don't think about breathing. You don't think about the way you brush your teeth. You don't even think about your drive. If you do the same drive day in and day out, guess what? You're unconscious while you're doing it. Because how many of us have ended up at our destination and didn't remember the drive there?
Me.
Yeah, me too. And it's scary.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're just running these programs, which all were built before we were 7. And that's just what we do. So unless something shows up that causes our unconscious mind to create a conscious awareness, yeah, we'll just keep doing it.
Okay, final question. What's the key to all of it? It's an easy one.
Oh, the key to all of it, get a coach.
There
I
you
mean, at the end of the day, if we could consciously ourselves create awareness, I think we would be living in a very, very different world right now. And the power of a coach is the one person that's connected to your business but not inside your business, and they're able to help create the awareness to shift and achieve what it is you truly want to achieve, not what you think you can achieve.
Well, this has been action-packed, filled with just great stuff here. And we've gone, I mean, the time has just flown. And we're up against our time for today. And I want to thank you so much for coming on. And would you do me a favor? First of all, is there one thing that you would say to people that would be their magic pill, aside from the question I just asked you?
Besides that question?
Sure. What would be a magic pill?
I don't know if it's a magic pill, but it's a statement that I live by. Perfectionism is only achieved when you accept mediocre standards. So stop being perfect and start looking for what is success for you. Because perfect never is achieved, and yet success can be achieved every day.
Beautiful. Very well said. Look, I know there was an issue. We had some technology issues, and a few people are having it. And I know that this was the reason you came on.
Yes.
This is how I get I don't understand why. Everybody seems to love this hat. So I've been sending these out to everybody that comes on. So you got your hat that's coming out to you shortly. Thank you so much for coming on. Tell people how they can get in touch with you to reach out for more information on you.
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is integrativecoachingsolutions.ca. You can follow us on Instagram, Integrative Coaching, or Facebook, Integrative Coaching. And if you want, you can reach out to me personally, Kelly at integrativecoaching.ca.
Kelly, thank you so much for coming on. I know I'll see you over time because you work with the group that I work with, and
Yes.
I look forward to it. Thank you so very much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I've learned an awful lot, and you've given me a lot of enthusiasm to go forward with what I've been doing. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
And stay on for a sec. Thanks. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week with David Greenspan from Mindshare 101.